All right, good morning and welcome to another New Way Growth and ConeX collaboration. And we have Ali and Charlie with us this morning. We're discussing all things around trade shows and exhibiting. And Sam, I don't know whether you want to come in onto that and add anything in onto that before we kick off.
Just a very quick, obviously, thank you for the two of you for joining us. As I said, over the last few events we've done, our kind of ConeX event structure is changing. So into 2024, we're going to be doing the LinkedIn Lives at the beginning of the month, which will then feed into kind of a ConeX mastermind session and then some in-person events throughout 2024. Obviously, we've started a few in-person events this year and they are going well so far. And it's just something that we want to bring back more predominantly, should we say. So everyone who isn't attending advanced engineering, firstly, why? Secondly, apologies for the bombardment of information that I've been putting out recently. It's the main show that we exhibit at as ConeX. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking quite a lot around how to actually get the most out of these trade shows and exhibits. We've got 11 companies on our stand with us on stand P116. Plug that in there now. And then there are, working it out this morning, I think there's 12 or 13 other ConeX members exhibiting across the rest of the show floor as well. So it's going to be quite a busy one and there's going to be quite a lot going on. So today we just wanted to do a very quick kind of 15-20 minute introduction to the team at Easy Fairs, go through a few questions around the show, the setup, the pre-show, during the show, after the show, little bits of advice, some quick tips for people to take away, not just as exhibitors, but as visitors as well. So, I mean, I guess I'll allow you two to introduce yourself to start with, and then we'll go from there.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, hi, I am Charlie. I am the marketing manager for Advanced Engineering.
I'm Ali. I'm the head of sales on Advanced Engineering and Lab Innovations. And we are very excited.
Very excited to be here.
And show's happening in what, oh my God, it's less than 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
And we want to welcome you all and obviously here to help and answer any questions you may have.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It scares me that it's 3 weeks' time.
Same.
Can't imagine what you're feeling.
Good.
No pressure. So we got a few questions that we were going to run through. So we were going to do one for around the kind of pre-show and setting up, one for when you're actually at the show and what to get out of it while you're there, and then one kind of post-show follow-ups, leads, that sort of thing. So I guess it makes sense to start with pre-show because that's kind of where we're at the minute. So other than sending obviously lots of email campaigns and social media campaigns and things like that to alert people that, obviously I'm talking from my point of view, so to alert people that ConeX are at the show.
Yeah.
What other kind of pre-show marketing like techniques and opportunities are out there, and what do you kind of recommend people do?
Obviously really important to let people know that you're going to be at the show. But in addition to it just being about inviting them to register and come to the show, making sure that if you're exhibiting, you're letting people know, where you're going to be as well, like on the show floor, because a lot of people will already be coming to the show. Make sure they know where you are, what's around you. If you're in a location where there's a particularly interest, if there's a networking area nearby, any food opportunities nearby, it's just a nice kind of reference point for people to be able to come and find you guys. Also, as well as just inviting people, it's kind of making sure that you're prepared. And this is from an exhibitor and a visitor perspective, really. We've got a show app that once you've registered, you should absolutely download, because that has all of the information about the show on it. And you can also start pre-booking meetings. And that's a two-way system that we have. So exhibitors can book meetings with visitors they'd like to meet and vice versa. And it just gives you a bit of structure to your day before you turn up to this hall of hundreds of exhibitors and thousands of people, and because it can be a bit overwhelming. I mean, it's obviously, you can go in with a plan, but it can be quite full on when you first get there. So having an idea of some sort of blocked out time within your day when you've already arranged to meet people is really, really helpful. And it just kind of takes that immediate pressure off when the doors open. So I'd really recommend that being kind of one of the things you're looking at within the next few weeks, just so you can feel a bit more prepared for the show. Anything you want to add?
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's marketing, is all pre-show marketing, and you said it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Off the top of your head, going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
How many exhibitors?
It's about 400 exhibitors for this year.
Advanced Engineering with Lab Innovations put together is about 600 exhibitors.
Yep.
And how many visitors was that last year?
Last year it was
12 together.
Yeah, overall it was about 12,000. For Advanced Engineering, it was about 9,000.
Brilliant. I knew you know the answer to that because I phoned Ali the other day and asked him. And within seconds, he reeled off the exact number. Brilliant. So I mean, from our point of view, there's a lot of prep going on. We've been sending out emails. We've been letting people know. We've been using the EasyFair site in terms of inviting people and hopefully getting people to essentially join us. And obviously, as you say, pre-booking meetings and working out what's actually going on around you is important. I think it was yourself, Ali, that said to me last year that the first few minutes of walking into a show is quite overwhelming, and you kind of wander in, you get somewhere in the middle, and then you're like, oh, I'm actually here, what do I do now? So having that kind of pre-plan of where you're going is quite important, and it does mean that you kind of make the most out of your day. Even myself and Adam were walking around EDS the other day, and I noticed exactly that. We got in within 10 minutes. I was like, oh, actually, I'm at a show. I'm walking around. I didn't really pay much attention to the first bit that I was doing. So so it definitely makes note to kind of see what's around you and plan some of that sort of thing out.
Can I ask a question based on that? So this is completely on the fly. This one is, Sam. So Charlie and Ali. So based on our experience this week, how do you go about ensuring that you have the right people, exhibitors, at the show you are putting on? Now, the reason I say that is I left the show that I was at thinking that didn't really fit for what the title of the event was.
Right.
And that just might be the timing of it. I don't know. But I just wondered what your process was and how you ensure that value added for your people that are coming in and for what you call it, advanced engineering.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for us, it's actually this year's sort of even more specific than previous years, because we've just gone through a rebrand, not just a kind of visual rebrand, but we've really changed the way the show works. If you've exhibited with us, I know you guys have exhibited with us last year, and lots of people have exhibited for kind of years and years. You'll remember we previously had show zones where we split the show floor up into different sectors, but the sectors were kind of split between sort of what we call like visitor verticals and exhibitor horizontals. So it was like there's aerospace, but there's also composites. And of course, there's a lot of crossover between those. And a lot of people do, work in auto and aero. And we did loads of research last year. We made about 500 calls. We did 2 advisory boards. And we asked our visitors, exhibitors, speakers, all of our stakeholders what they thought advanced engineering should be, what they were looking for as a show. And then we spent all of last year coming up with the ways that we could be ensuring we're reaching the right people, whether that's exhibitors or visitors, and the best way to kind of put that on at the show that made sense for everyone. Because sometimes when shows develop over a few years, when they get bigger, they expand, you don't ever have that moment where you sit down and think, is this still making sense? Because you're kind of bolting on new things here and there, and it can become a bit of a mishmash. And I think that's happened at a lot of shows where there's been a lot of growth. And then since COVID, everything really changed. So it was the perfect time to sit down and really think about what we want to do for our community. Because ultimately, there's no point in putting on a show that's not what people need or what they're expecting. So basically the way we do it, we did a load of research. We stay really, really close to everyone who comes to the show. You've probably, if you're exhibiting with us, you've probably been harassed with phone calls from me, my team, Ali, everyone, just to get a feel for how it's going. If you have any like pain points, if there's anything we can help with. And we make sure we always ask our visitors the sort of people that they want to see at the show as exhibitors, because they tend, they're the ones that are going to be at the show, walking the show floor. So yeah, we do pride ourselves on that being a really, really important part of building our show each year. And I'm hoping that will be reflected this year with a floor plan that is very different from what most people are expecting. And 2024's floor plan is going to be even better already, because we've really, even in the last sort of year of changing things, we've really thought about what's maybe not worked perfectly this year that we can make absolutely perfect for next year. So it's a constant process.
It is one of those things. I have to say that the advanced engineering is the one that I hear most about throughout the year, not just at this particular point.
That's because I don't shut up
conversations. Probably. But it's not just that, not just within ConeX, it's outside of ConeX, obviously, with the businesses I have within manufacturing and outside of manufacturing. It's I get to hear it, and it is the one that predominantly I hear a lot of good things about.
Good.
So you're doing good work.
In line with your question, it's in line with our guidelines from EasyFest to stay very close with our community associations that we work with, such as Make UK, SMMT, ADS, GTMA, to make sure that the show we put together is the right event. So we stay close to our community, as Charlie rightly said, throughout calls, advisory boards, to make sure that the companies that we bring to the show, the categories that we have for the show are the right categories to answer the questions that our visitors ask, really. So we do huge research of the show, the feedback of our VIPs and associations and a lot of our exhibitors, to be able to put the right show together, to put the right companies on that floor plan. And obviously, we do refuse some companies when they're not relevant to the show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Sorry, I was just about to jump in there because what was it?
Right. So, moving on to kind of during the show, there's a lot of information going around. There's a lot of people walking around. There's a lot of stands. There's a lot to see. There's a lot of people to talk to. Let's start with an exhibitor point of view. What would you recommend is the best way to actually collect some of these contact details and then obviously some follow-up information to move that forward? Because you don't want to be sat, obviously it's a 2-day show, you don't want to be stood for an hour and a half, 2 hours talking to the same person. Even if the conversation is very good and it's engaging, you can only speak to a few people a day if you're doing that. So from my opinion, it's get as much information as you can quickly and then take it away from the show and follow up.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best way to actually?
I think that's really interesting, because that's something that we've noticed a lot, and that's one of the things we really focus on, is making sure that the leads that people get are kind of something that they can come away with feeling really confident that they've got. I'm going to say their money's worth, but also just it's a lot of time that goes into doing trade shows. It's not you're taking 2 full days out just for the show, let alone all the prep that goes into it. So one of the things that we do for this is, if you exhibit with advanced engineering, there's 2 lead generation tools that you get included as part of your marketing package. Regardless of what level of package you're on, you get access to both tools, and they basically make it so that you won't miss anyone who comes to your stand, even if you're busy. Even if you were caught talking to the same person for 2 hours, you still have the opportunity to capture leads from other people. So we have our smart badges and smart badge technology. So, looks like a paper badge. Everyone wears one, but it's got a little chip in it that's got all your details on it. Essentially a digital business card. All exhibitors will have at least one smart badge reader on their stand. If a visitor's walking past and they're like, I really don't want to have a conversation right now, but this looks interesting. Or if they're like, oh, I'd like to chat, but all these people, all the stand personnel are busy. I can't hang around. I've got too much to do. Rather than you missing that lead completely and them not getting any of your information, they can just tap their badge on your smart badge reader. And at the end of the day, every visitor will get one email. So they're not going to be bombarded. That's the main thing. They get an email that has a breakdown of every stand they tapped their badge on. So that will have a link to each exhibitor's profile. So they can go in and look at the information there at their own leisure, rather than being bombarded immediately by marketing emails from every exhibitor who they tap their badge on. They get a really easy, digestible breakdown at the end of the day of which stands they tapped, and they can kind of look at that at their leisure. The great thing is, as an exhibitor, at the end of the show, you get the information of everyone who tapped their badge on your reader. So it's a really good, easy, two-way digital business card exchange. And the great thing about that is, even without you following up, you know those visitors have got your information already. So that's one of the things that we call that's kind of our visitor-led technology, let's say. So it doesn't require the visitor coming and speaking to you. They can get your information quite passively by just tapping their badge. But obviously, that doesn't necessarily give you massive information about who they are or specifically what they're looking for. So we also offer our Visit Connect lead generation technology, which if you've exhibited at any show before, you've probably used something similar. It's essentially an app you use on your device. So everyone on the stand can use their own phone or an iPad, whatever they want to use. And you can scan the QR code of a visitor you're talking to. You then immediately get their information. Pre-show, you can have set up specific questions you'd like to ask, and as you're talking to them, you can fill in this information. So what that does is it allows you to essentially qualify the leads as you're talking to them, which makes follow-up so much easier, because you could literally, you know everything about them, and you can even have noted, oh, they said they were interested in product X. So when you follow up with them, it's not just, hello, we saw you at the show last week. It's, hi, we spoke at this time about this product. Which means when you follow up with them, they're like, wow, I actually am getting the information I've requested. I'm not just being bombarded with blanket marketing emails. So the main thing is using those in tandem, because obviously you want to be having engaging conversations. You don't just want to be on your stand, sitting there on your laptop, not looking up, hoping people are tapping their badge on your smart badge reader. Because again, visitors come to stands where people look engaged. It's being proactive to get these leads. But using the Visit Connect and the smart badge leads in tandem means you would be really unlucky if you missed anyone who was interested in your product. And it's really simple, because you can download all of those leads from one place after the show in an Excel file, a CSV. You can upload them straight to your own CRM, and it's all GDPR compliant, because the visitors are aware by tapping their badge that they are going to be contacted by you. So it's basically a really, really simple way of gathering leads. And of course, in addition to that, if you want to, you can do other things. You can, take physical business cards. Obviously, we prefer it if you use the technologies, just because we've had people panic at the end of a show before, like, oh my God, I had a bowl of business cards and it's been moved during breakdown, or it's been put in a cupboard and lost. So it's always good to have a digital backup. So it mainly is just being proactive, making sure you're looking engaged, and then obviously being prepared for the follow-up after the show as well.
Two questions.
Don't open your laptop. Don't have your phones in your hand, because people will avoid you, will walk away. It's like, do you know what? I was speaking to an exhibitor, and I was like, bring your salespeople who are like the charity guys that are outside train stations. They just come and grab you and want to talk to you. Those are the kind of guys that will get you the most leads at a show. So that's the kind of behavior you want to have, because visitors are coming to the show to talk to people. Yeah. There are some people who are just tire kickers and just want to get the samples, right? We get them. Everyone gets them. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not too many.
Not too many. But you want your guys to be grabbing people. You're one of the first stands as people come into the show. So make sure as they come in, they don't do a Sam where they go all the way to the middle of the show and they realize, hey, I just got here, right? So you want to just grab them, welcome, hi, how are you? How's your day going? What are you looking for? And that's the kind of start of a conversation. Let us tell you about our products, and it's no obligation. You don't have to sign a contract or anything right now, but we just want to get engaged. And meanwhile, while they're at it, they could just scan their badge as well, and then you'll have a connection made there.
Yeah, I think
two questions. I've got two questions. So go for yours, and then I'll come back.
All I was just going to say is just to follow up on what you were saying around actually using the technology. From my experience at previous shows and exhibitions that I've been to, and just where I've been walking around and speaking to people and grabbing business cards, I get home at the end of the day with 50, 60 business cards, and I don't remember every single conversation I had. I don't know why I picked up half the people's business cards.
Exactly, and then you've got to manually put all that information into an email to email them. It is so people don't realize how much sort of brain capacity it takes up as well. It's much easier to just be like, oh no, I know who this person was because I've got notes I've written on them, and it's already in a file somewhere.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the trying to make as much use of that as possible.
I always go to shows as well, so I collect business cards. They don't all have our technology. So every business card that I pick, not in front of them, as soon as I walk away from their stand, I take a quick note to tell myself this was a warm or a cold conversation. Are they interested? I mean, usually I have one product is exhibition, or it could be sponsorship, but I'll write it down so that when I come back and I'm dropping them an email, at least I know. Or is it, did they just want to come and visit? So I just put on visit, exhibit, warm, cold. So these are the little notes you can do. But hey, with us, you're safe. You got the technology.
Yeah.
So you've great advice that is, by the way, is right. That's what I normally do is write stuff down on the business card if I've taken it exactly what you've just said there as well, Ali. The two questions I had. So one was the visitor side.
Yes.
So they get this email come through. So if they've tapped on the stand now, if somebody like us with ConeX, we've got multiple companies on one stand. When they tap, do they get the list of who was on that stand, or do they get ConeX? That's just one quick question for our exhibitors.
Yeah. So when a visitor taps their badge on the reader, so the reader specifically is linked to the exhibitor profile. So that will send you a link to. It will give whoever the lead email person is for that badge reader that you've tapped. So if ConeX has one reader between all of their co-exhibitors, that will just be ConeX that gets it. If you've got individual readers for each of the co-exhibitors, they'll have their own. So you'll get your own leads for that. It will link to the My Easy Fares profile that we have set up for you on the Smart Badge Reader. So it will link to all the information that you guys have put on your profiles about what you guys do. Whereas with the Visit Connect side of things, when you download those leads, it shows which person scanned who, so you can split leads out really easily. And obviously for visitors, if you don't email them if you've scanned their badge with Visit Connect rather than the Smart Badge Reader, if you don't reach out to the visitor, they won't get anything from you, because that is one that has to be followed up with by you guys. But yeah, the visitors, they get an email breakdown of every stand they tapped. And this technology is also used, it's not just for exhibitors, we use it at our forums, we use it to enter competitions, we use it for loads of things. So visitors aren't confused by the technology. And we've used it for years and years, so they're quite used to it now.
Good. Now the second question was coming from the exhibitor side. What's your general advice, seeing as it is the specialist area that you deal with at Easy Fares on this? For, let's say, unlike ConeX, let's say we've got somebody exhibiting on their own, a company on their own. How many people would you have on that stand at any one time? Because I've sat and activity sampled and observed this as to see whether people approach based on the number of people you've got on the stand. And if there is a lot of people, they don't tend to get many people approach the stand. So is there a rule of thumb that you would give on that?
Yeah, Ali's just mentioned a good rule of thumb that we have. Obviously, there's so many variables. It's really hard to come up with one size fits all. But Ali's just said, we usually say you want about one person per 6 square meters on your stand.
Okay.
You don't want it to be so busy that it's intimidating, or it looks like, why have they got all these people here when no one's talking to them? But you also don't want one person who is standing in the middle of this massive space, because that's also not necessarily inviting. It's kind of thinking, it's putting yourself in the shoes of the visitor. Like if you were at an event, what sort of stand would you go over to? And again, it's not just about the amount of people, but if you've got 18 people, but they're all sitting on their laptops, or if you've got 4 people and they're standing ready to talk to you, it can really depend. But you don't want it to be too crowded, but you don't want it to be too sparse, because you want to make people to feel like they can have a conversation with you without taking up all of your time if it looks like you're sort of panicking and looking around. But you also don't want to necessarily have a 2-on-1 conversation where there's just people hovering nearby trying to get involved. So it's quite hard to give like a proper answer, but
you also have to bear in mind that there are 2 types of people: the introverts and the extroverts, right? The introverts don't want to come to a stand where there's 4 people as they're the exhibitor and have to like break out their conversation, for example, to say, hey, I got a query. Whereas the extroverts don't mind. They'll just come and start a joke and start talking to everybody. So that's also something to bear in mind. But yeah, general rule of thumb, that's what we say to all our exhibitors. If you got a 12 square meter, bring 2 people, no more. More than 2 is just going to be too crowded. You're not going to have enough space for people to bring onto your stand from the gangways so that you can have a conversation more in private.
And of course, you can bring more people than that, but they should be walking the floor, or they should be in the networking areas, or they should be, you know, going out and about and doing other things. And again, that's the great thing. It means if you bring an extra person, you've always got lunch cover. So there's never a point when your stand is empty or unmanned or anything like that. So it's kind of just, it is very much like shift work suddenly.
Yes,
like you have to really like plan a route, like a rota for who's going to be where and where.
You want to do it in shifts because there's going to be 60 to 80, maybe 100. I wouldn't say 100, 60 to 80 conversations a day per person. That is going to be tiring. So yes, you do want to do it in shifts, I would say as well.
Yeah, I think it comes back, for me, it comes back to that, as you say, is that planning and organising around what you're doing. Because I again, witnessing it this week and witnessing it numerous times with multiple sales teams on stands, the first habit they'll do is they'll tend to talk to each other. But what they do is they then form a circle.
Yes.
And that circle then closes the conversation off.
Absolutely.
When people walk past, will not enter into it.
No, absolutely not.
So they need this. The other best practice is to open out, so you can still have the conversation, but make sure you're opening it out so it's inviting in, not closed.
Exactly.
So plan it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really useful advice. Although I'm going against it, and we're going to have a very, very busy stand with lots of people.
You're a different. You've got a lot of. You're essentially like 12 stands in one, and again, you've got different products. So it's not like one person knows everything. So you're an exception.
Again, though, the beauty of that is that all of our co-exhibitors know one another already. They've all been to events before. They know what each other does. So obviously, when Adam's on the stand, if someone comes up and is asking about, I don't know, composites or structural analysis or whatever it may be, Adam's going to know that Casper is the person that they need to speak to, even if Casper's off wandering around doing his own thing, which we're obviously encouraging all our co-exhibitors to do.
Yeah, that's a really good thing.
Take the details on his behalf and go that way.
Your stand, Sam, will follow the sheep rule, right? Because it's so busy. People think it's busy. What's going on? Let's go find out. So that's really, really good, really good stand you guys have. So
that's
open space. And yeah.
So last question, which I have lost, which is really good. There it is. Post show. I know Luke has put something in the comments around follow-ups and post show. We'll pick this up a little bit more on our session as well on Monday, because Luke's actually exhibiting with us, so he'll be there. Do you have an optimum time period in terms of following up leads after the show? So do you say it has to be the same day? Are we talking weeks, months? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is, again, it's walking that fine line between people who've just come off of a show, you know, whether you're a visitor or whatever, they've obviously just taken a couple of days out of the office or out of wherever they are. They're going back. They're probably going to have quite a lot to catch up on. And you do know that a lot of people, other exhibitors from the show, will just mass email them the day after the show, because we know that we usually have the day after our show off, or we should do, but what we actually do is end up getting harassed by exhibitors saying, I can't access my leads, and it's just, you know, because they're desperate to try and email everyone that day on a Friday after everyone's been on site for 2 days. I personally think the following week is the best time to follow up, because it's still fresh enough in people's mind, but they've caught up on the 1 or 2 days they were out of the office. It's not a Friday when people are like, I'm not going to deal with this today, because then it goes to the bottom of their inbox for Monday. You've missed your kind of hot chance when you're at the top of their inbox. And especially if you can, particularly from the leads that you scanned with Visit Connect, you want time to actually personalize that experience, because you've spent all that time building up, having these conversations. If you're going to then just send them a blanket email because it's quicker, there wasn't really any point in doing it. You know, you need to have that personal connection. So early the following week is fine, because even then, if it's just just a reminder, we spoke about this at the show, it would be great to put a time in to have a full catch up, because I know you mentioned you were interested in X. That's that's what it needs. That shows that personal connection. It shows you've listened to what they've said. It shows you've actually taken the time to formulate something that is personal to them as well. So that, I mean, I'm not sure if you, I mean, that's what we do when we go to other shows and come back and follow up, because we know exactly what it's like, and you guys do as well, know exactly what it's like after a show when you're just like, oh God, you just need like a break, just a bit of a reset. And then you're ready to kind of follow up from the following week.
Yeah, I would say the week after would be good. Unless, I mean, you've got some people that say, I want some prices tomorrow. You just do them the same night and send it over. But yeah, I would say that the following week would also be a good time.
I think I guess it depends on the conversation as well. Because from our point of view, if people are coming to the show to learn more about ConeX and potentially want to sign up to join what we're doing at ConeX, then yeah, it makes sense to follow up maybe 2 weeks later, set up a separate call and have that kind of personalized conversation there. But if someone's coming to us because they've got a project need, or they need a new supplier, or someone's let them down, they need something urgently, then we need to connect them to the right people as soon as possible to carry on. So it's
that's it. It's about having that kind of, again, no one size fits all. If you haven't got an urgent reason to follow up with anyone, you're okay to leave it a couple of days. But it's just using your initiative, and it's actually almost more helpful if you have a mixture of people who urgently need something and those who don't, because then you've kind of got a few steps of follow-up that you can do. You don't have to be like, oh God, we've got to do all of this at once. But yeah, again, it's just using kind of your initiative as to what the appropriate time is. But generally, the day after is fine. If you have the time to do it and you want to send even just it was great to see you at the show, we'll follow up with you more next week. Like, that's another great option, because it shows again that you've put the thought into following up with them, but you're not just going to send everyone the same information, but you've kind of mentioned that you will be following up more and when, so they can expect it as well. It's you wouldn't want someone to just shove a meeting in your diary randomly. So it's nice to have that kind of, I'm going to follow up with you next week about X, Y, Z. And they're a bit more like, oh, okay, cool. I can prepare for that. I can take some time out to look at that next week.
I think the key there for me from a marketing aspect is like you hit on, is personalization. What's the most important word to us? Your name, because it's personal to us. So take the time out and be personal with it, because you'll go a long way from a marketing point of view.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. So what we're going to do, obviously this has been recorded, anyone can watch this back. We're going to follow up again on Monday with the two of you, I believe, potentially, to have a bit more of an in-depth chat with some of our members as well, especially some of our co-exhibitors and visitors that are coming along. I know there's a few other questions in the chat which we'll bring forward with us on Monday, if that's all right, to have that more in-depth discussion. I know some of the co-exhibitors have got some questions around logistics and all that sort of thing, so we'll do that on Monday with those guys, as you can expect. So, I mean, unless you've got anything else you want to add, Adam?
No, it's been cracking, great information, and it's good to hear some of the insights as well as what you do, in setting up things and things like that, because I'm always intrigued around that. And it also helps for people understanding that when they come into the show, the effort that goes into the research you put in behind it to make sure it is value added. So it's been great for me from that aspect.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
And obviously the show is 1st and 2nd of November.
Correct.
3 weeks today. No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks on Wednesday.
Yes.
Last Wednesday.
2 weeks next Wednesday.
Yes.
There we go.
NEC Birmingham. Nothing else to say. Stand P116. That's all there is to say. I don't think there's anything else. Thank you both for joining us. And,
thank you for having us. We'll see you on Monday.
See ya.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye now.